You won't believe what happened in the hallway of Congress that afternoon. It started like a normal workday. It turned into a moment that exposed courage, fear, silence, hate, and the truth about who stands up when it actually matters. And it all began when Jasmine Crockett saw a man outside her office doing something no member of Congress should ever have to face. The day felt routine at first. The Cannon House office building was busy in the usual way. Staffers walked fast with folders and laptops. Phones rang. Doors opened and closed. The floors echoed with the normal sounds of government work. That building is one of those places where democracy lives in the small moments. It is where big decisions hide behind quiet offices. It is where people argue, debate, negotiate, and sign papers that shape the country. But what happened on that Tuesday afternoon broke the rhythm. It broke the trust. And it broke the quiet. Jasmine Crockett was walking back to her office after a morning committee meeting. Two staffers walked with her, going over notes and schedules. They were talking about the vote series coming up. It was normal. It was calm. It was safe. Until she saw him. A man stood just 15 feet from her office door. He was white, maybe mid-40s. He wore a black t-shirt under a tactical vest. He held a sign that said, "Defend America First." That alone wasn't unusual. Protests happen in the Capitol all the time. People come to speak, to show signs, to express beliefs. That is part of democracy. But this man wasn't just holding a sign. He wasn't protesting in the normal way. He wasn't there to talk. He wasn't there to ask his government for anything. He was there to send a message. And he wanted Jasmine Crockett to see it. As she walked closer, he locked eyes with her. His stare was sharp and cold. Then he lifted his hand slowly. Very slowly. And he formed a white supremacist hand sign. One of the symbols extremists use to signal hate. One of the signs meant to intimidate. And he did it again. And again. Making sure she saw. Making sure she understood. Making sure there was no question about his intent. Her staffer stepped closer to her without thinking. Another staffer pulled out a phone and started recording. The man stared back with an expression that wasn't anger. It was worse. It was confidence. Pride. He wanted to frighten her. He wanted to show dominance. He wanted control. For 1 second, Jasmine stopped walking. Her heart jumped. Her breath caught. Her mind raced. Every human instinct said the same thing, this could turn dangerous. But she was also a trial lawyer. She knew fear is exactly what men like him want. She knew backing away is exactly what makes them feel powerful. So she steadied herself. She kept her voice calm. "Sir," she said firmly. "You need to leave this area right now. You are creating a threatening environment for staff and members." The man only smiled. A cold, sharp smile. "I have a First Amendment right to be here," he said. His tone was fake calm. The kind of voice extremists use when they want to provoke but pretend innocence. "I'm not threatening anyone. I'm just expressing my political views." Before she could respond, something unexpected happened. A door down the hallway opened. Out stepped Congressman Cory Mills. A sitting member of Congress. A man who had branded himself as a fierce conservative fighter. A man who loved culture war battles and loved cameras even more. Jasmine hoped for a second that he would do the right thing. A fellow member. A basic moment of unity. A clear threat. A chance to show leadership. But that hope lasted only 5 seconds. Mills walked closer with a smirk, scanning the scene like he was entering a TV set rather than a hallway. He looked at the man. He looked at the sign. He looked at Jasmine. Then he said the words that stunned everyone standing there. "Is there a problem here?" Mills asked, sounding almost amused. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're harassing a constituent who's exercising his constitutional rights." The hallway froze. Jasmine's jaw almost dropped. Her staffer stepped forward quickly. Congressman Mills, this man was making threatening gestures. I saw a man holding a sign, Mills cut in smoothly. And last I checked, that's protected political speech. Unless Democrats want to criminalize political expression they don't like. It was such an upside-down version of reality that for a moment Jasmine couldn't even answer. She had just been targeted with white supremacist hand signs. She had just confronted the man calmly. And now a fellow member of Congress was defending the aggressor. Jasmine finally found her voice. Congressman, she said, that man just flashed white supremacist signals at me. Repeatedly. That is not political expression. That is intimidation. And the fact that you are defending it tells me everything I need to know. Mills laughed. A short, sharp laugh meant to belittle her. Oh come on, Jasmine. White supremacist hand signs. Really? Sometimes a hand is just a hand. Not everything is a hate crime. Behind him, the protester looked proud. Empowered. Seen. He kept occasionally repeating the signs, even as the hallway began to fill with staffers and aides unsure whether to intervene. Jasmine's patience snapped. Not in anger. In clarity. You know what's fascinating to me, Congressman Mills, she said, her lawyer voice fully engaged now. You always worry about the rights of men like him. You always defend their gestures. Their language. Their threats. But you were silent on January 6th, silent when people carried swastikas. Silent when your supporters called for people to be hanged. So forgive me if your sudden passion for free speech feels less like principle, and more like convenience. Mills stiffened. He had not expected that. He tried another angle. I think emotions are running high. Don't patronize me, Jasmine snapped. This isn't emotion. This is adrenaline. Because a white supremacist tried to intimidate me outside my office. And you defended him. The hallway went quiet. Then Jasmine took one small step closer to Mills. Her voice lowered, steady and sharp. You want to talk about intimidation, Congressman? Let's talk about your court case. Mills froze. You mean the one you settled after those very troubling allegations? She continued. The one that shows a pattern of behavior? Because someone with that record should think twice before defending a man threatening a black congresswoman. Gasps filled the hallway. Mills turned pale. His confidence disappeared. Reporters had written about his restraining order case before. But he never expected it to surface here. A Capitol police officer had arrived. The protester sensed the shift. He tried to play innocent. He stopped with the hand signs. But the video was already captured. The truth already saved. The officer told the man he needed to leave the hallway immediately. He looked at Mills for help. Mills didn't offer any. The protester walked away, glaring at Jasmine as he left. But Jasmine wasn't done. You could have helped, she told Mills. You could have protected a colleague. Instead, you saw a chance to score political points. And you sided with hate. That is what's broken in our politics. And now everyone here has seen it with their own eyes. Mills muttered something about taking a step back, but Jasmine cut him off again. What we should step back from our hate symbols. Threats. And cowardice. But you didn't. You chose silence. You chose complicity. Mills turned and walked away. The hallway was stunned. Staffers whispered. People stared at Jasmine with a mix of concern and admiration. The officer asked to take her statement. Her staffer saved the video. And Jasmine, still shaking a bit from the adrenaline, walked back into her office knowing this moment was not over. And she was right. Because within 1 hour, the video leaked. And everything exploded. You will not believe how fast everything changed once the video hit the internet. The moment it leaked, the calm was gone. The silence was gone. The excuses were gone. Suddenly, millions of people could see the truth for themselves. And what happened next didn't just expose one man. It exposed a system that tries very hard to stay quiet when hate steps into the hallway. The video spread faster than anyone expected. First, it landed in a group chat among congressional staffers. Then it showed up on a reporter's phone. Then it was posted on a small political account. And then it jumped platforms. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Within minutes, it became the only thing people were talking about. The clip was short, but it showed everything clearly. It showed the man flashing white supremacist hand signs. It showed Jasmine telling him to leave. It showed Corey Mills stepping out and defending the man instead of condemning him. And it showed the exact moment Jasmine confronted Mills about his silence, his actions, and his court case. There was no way to twist it. No way to hide it. No way to pretend the truth was something else. By the time Jasmine sat down at her desk, her phone was vibrating nonstop. Texts. Emails. Missed calls. Staffers rushing in and out with updates. The noise of a political storm building fast. Her chief of staff stepped into the office and closed the door. "This is everywhere," she said, holding her tablet out. The screen showed the video replaying on a major news channel. And the reactions are growing by the second. Jasmine took a deep breath. She didn't look shaken. She looked ready. "What are they saying?" she asked calmly. Her chief of staff pulled up comments. Thousands of them. People were outraged. They weren't confused. They weren't divided. They were angry. Deeply angry. And the anger wasn't about politics. It was about the way hate had walked into a government hallway, and the way a congressman had defended it. Some comments said, "Why wasn't the man removed immediately? How is this happening in the halls of Congress? Why was Corey Mills protecting him?" Jasmine stayed calm under pressure. Impressive. This is what Black elected officials face every day. The video wasn't just a clip. It was a mirror held up to the country. Meanwhile, conservative media scrambled to respond. Some tried to downplay the gestures. Some accused Jasmine of overreacting. Some tried to paint the man as just a regular protester. But the strategy wasn't working. The video was too clear. Too direct. Too real. Even people who didn't like Crockett politically said the same thing. This was wrong. And Mills handled it badly. Within 2 hours, the White House had requested more information. Capitol Police announced they were reviewing the situation. Members of Congress, quietly at first, began texting Jasmine privately. "I saw the video. I'm so sorry you went through that. He should have condemned it immediately. This is unacceptable." Of course, many didn't say anything publicly. Politics makes people scared of backlash. But silence speaks its own truth. And that silence was the problem Jasmine had been warning about. As the storm grew outside her office, Jasmine sat with her staff and watched the video again. Not to relive it, but to understand it fully. She watched the man's expression. She watched the moment Mills appeared. She watched the smirk. The laugh. The deflection. The moment he froze when she mentioned his court case. Then she paused the video. "That's the moment everything changed," she said softly. "Right there." Her staff looked closer. The freeze frame showed the hallway. The protester. Mills. And Jasmine standing firm, facing both of them with steady resolve. Her staffer who recorded the video spoke quietly. "You handled that better than anyone else could have." Jasmine shook her head. "Nobody should have to handle that at all." Meanwhile, reporters crowded the hallway outside. Cameras were everywhere. Microphones. Questions shouted through the air like sharp arrows. "Congresswoman Crockett, do you feel unsafe? Do you believe the protester is connected to extremist groups? What do you say to Congressman Mills' statement? Do you believe he defended hate? Are you calling for discipline? Jasmine didn't speak yet. Not because she didn't know what to say, but because she knew timing mattered. When the country is watching, you speak with purpose. Across the Capitol, Cory Mills was also watching the fallout. And he was not happy. He released a statement within hours. It sounded polished, practiced, and cold. I was simply trying to de-escalate a tense situation and protect the right of constituents to express their political views. Any suggestion that I supported hateful conduct is false. But reporters noticed something. He never condemned the hand signs. Not once. Not even when asked directly. That silence said more than any statement. Later that afternoon, a Capitol Police spokesperson held a briefing. They confirmed the man had been identified. They confirmed the behavior was considered threatening. They confirmed they were conducting an investigation. And they confirmed that congressional members have a right to be protected from intimidation inside the building. The moment those words were spoken, the story moved from political drama to national security concern. But the biggest shift came that evening. Civil rights organizations released statements one after another. The NAACP, the ACLU, the Anti-Defamation League. They all said the same thing. What happened to Representative Jasmine Crockett is unacceptable. Major news networks played the video on repeat. Commentators analyzed every moment. Experts broke down the hand signs, the signals, the behavior, the legal implications. One anchor said, "This is a clear example of how hate groups attempt to intimidate public officials. And this is why silence from other leaders is dangerous." Meanwhile, in Florida, political strategists began asking uncomfortable questions about Cory Mills. Why defend a man flashing hate symbols? Why argue with a colleague instead of ensuring safety? Why attack Crockett while ignoring the extremist? His office was flooded with calls. Some supportive, but many angry. And his team knew they were facing a crisis. Back in Dallas, Jasmine Crockett's district office phones rang nonstop too, mostly with messages of support. Older voters, working people, Black families, veterans, teachers, people who had never called a congressional office before. They all said the same thing. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for not backing down. You showed strength when it mattered. Jasmine listened to some of the messages herself. One from a retired postal worker in her 70s brought tears to her eyes. She said, "Baby, you stood up in that hallway the way so many of us wish we could have stood up in our workplaces. You weren't just standing for yourself. You were standing for all of us." It was a reminder of why that moment mattered. Not because of politics. Not because of headlines. But because of the message it sent. Meanwhile, investigative reporters dug into Mills's court case, the one Jasmine mentioned in the hallway. Details resurfaced. Documents reappeared. Old interviews were replayed. And soon the connection became too obvious to ignore. A congressman with a history of aggressive behavior had defended a man acting aggressively toward a Black member of Congress. The public saw the pattern. The press saw the pattern. And Jasmine had already called it out to his face. The next morning, Jasmine walked into the Capitol with calm determination. She didn't hide. She didn't shrink. She didn't avoid the cameras. She faced the press with steady eyes. Her voice was clear and simple. What happened yesterday should not happen to any member of Congress. And what was defended yesterday should not be defended by anyone in leadership. Not today. Not ever. Her words hit the country like a hammer. From that moment, the story stopped being about a hallway incident. It became a national conversation about intimidation, hate symbols, political cowardice, and the risks faced by Black elected officials. But the question everyone kept asking was the same. What happens next? And they were not ready for what was coming. Because the next 24 hours revealed something even deeper. Something Mills did not expect. Something Crockett was absolutely ready for. And something the public needed to hear. What happened next shocked everyone in Washington. Because once the video spread across the country, something important finally happened. People who had stayed silent started talking. People who had looked away started paying attention. And the truth that many tried to hide was now standing in the middle of the Capitol with nowhere left to go. The next morning, the Capitol was different. The halls were louder. The reporters were sharper. Staffers whispered. Cameras clicked. Everyone had seen the video. Everyone had watched the hand signs. Everyone had watched Mills defend the man doing them. And everyone had watched Jasmine Crockett stand her ground. Even members who normally avoided controversy whispered things like, "She handled that better than anyone else would have." That was clearly intimidation. Mills made himself look terrible. It wasn't gossip. It was acknowledgement. For a long time, people in power ignored moments like this. They brushed off hate symbols. They excused threatening behavior. They told black officials and staffers that they were reading too much into things. But the video shattered all those excuses. The truth was right there. It could not be twisted. It could not be softened. It could not be denied. Jasmine walked into the Capitol with confidence, not fear. She was not hiding. She was not shaken. She had faced hate in the hallway, and she was standing taller because of it. Her staff kept pace behind her. Reporters followed closely. "Congresswoman, do you want Congressman Mills disciplined? Do you think he put you in danger? Do you plan to file a formal complaint? Do you believe this was hate intimidation?" Jasmine kept walking. She didn't rush. She didn't look overwhelmed. When she reached the podium for her press statement, she looked straight at the cameras. "Good morning," she said softly, but firmly. "Let me be clear about what happened." The room went silent. A man stood outside my office flashing white supremacist hand signs. "That is not political speech. That is a threat." And a sitting member of Congress defended him. Flashes went off. Reporters leaned in. "This is not about politics. This is about safety. This is about the rising boldness of hate. And it is about the silence of people who know better." She paused, letting every word settle. When hate walks into this building, members of Congress do not get to stay quiet. Not anymore. Her message was simple. Clear. Direct. And it hit the nation like a lightning bolt. That afternoon, the House Ethics Committee announced they would review concerns involving Representative Mills' conduct. It wasn't a punishment. But it was something. A beginning. A moment of official seriousness. Meanwhile, Capitol Police briefed leadership on new safety guidelines. Staffers were told how to report intimidation. Members were reminded of their obligations to de-escalate, not intensify, threatening situations. Behind the scenes, more information came out about the protester. He was linked to an online extremist group. He had posted anti-black, anti-immigrant messages. He had attended rallies where hate symbols were common. And he had bragged online about sending messages to elected officials. The puzzle pieces fit too perfectly to ignore. And the public saw that. But one thing made the story even bigger. A leaked audio clip surfaced from the hallway. Not the video. Not the gestures. But Mills' own words. In the clip, he was heard telling someone. "She calls everything racist. Watch this blow up. My base will love it." That changed everything. This was not misunderstanding. Not confusion. Not an attempt to de-escalate. It was performance. It was calculation. It was political theater built on someone else's fear. And for the first time, even some of Mills' own supporters called him out. This is not leadership. This is childish. He failed in a basic moment. Commentators across TV said the same thing. Jasmine Crockett showed courage. Mills showed cowardice. That evening, Jasmine returned to her office. The day had been long. Emotional. Heavy. But she felt strong. Her staff brought in a small laptop and played a voicemail that had gone viral. It was from a 62-year-old veteran. He said, "I don't care what party you're in. You stood up when a lot of men would have stayed quiet. You kept your head steady. You didn't let hate scare you. And you showed the whole country what real courage looks like." Jasmine closed her eyes for a moment. The message meant more than the news coverage. More than the headlines. More than the praise. Because it reminded her why she fought. Why she stayed loud. Why she refused to be intimidated. It wasn't for herself. It was for every person who didn't feel safe speaking up. For every staffer. For every voter. For every young black girl watching and learning. For every American who believes democracy should be safe for everyone, not just the loudest ones. Later that night, Jasmine recorded a message for her district. She wanted them to hear from her, not the news. She said, "You can flash signs outside my door. You can try to scare me. But you will never silence me. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever." And then she added something even stronger. "We do not fight hate with fear. We fight it with truth. We fight it with clarity. We fight it by refusing to be quiet." Those words spread even faster than the video. People shared them. People quoted them. People said that was what leadership should sound like. By the next morning, a hashtag with her name was trending nationwide. Even some Republican members, quiet ones who avoided drama, whispered their respect. She stood up in a moment most people would have backed away from. And that is why the story mattered. Not because of the man in the hallway. Not because of Corey Mills' silence. Not because of the political noise. But because Jasmine Crockett showed the country what real courage looks like when someone tries to frighten you in your own workplace. Because she proved that silence in the face of hate is always a choice. And she showed the country she will never choose silence. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If this story opened your eyes to what really happens inside the halls of Congress, make sure you hit that like button so more people see it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we bring you real stories about courage, truth, and what happens when someone finally speaks up. And drop a comment below telling us what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel across America. Your support helps us keep telling the stories that others try to ignore. Stay safe. Stay aware. And stay with us.